So today we have to start actual overhead assessment. So actual overhead assessment means finding out the actual overheads. You know, overheads means indirect expenditure, right? So see here we have three cost centers. We have three cost centers. Department A, production cost center. Department B also production cost center. Then we have one cost center, Department C, and this is the service cost center. Let us assume that it is the canteen cost center. Now, we have paid salaries to the people working in the Department A. So this is the direct cost to Department A. And also, we have paid wages to the workers working in the Department A. So the wages is the direct cost to Department A. Then we have paid rent for the premises of Department A. So rent is the direct expenditure for Department A. Similarly, we have paid salaries to the people working in the Department B. So salaries is the direct cost for the Department B, production cost center. Then we paid wages to the workers working in the Department B again. Then to at 25,000. So these are all the direct expenditure for the Department B, and these are the direct expenditure for the Department B. Now coming to canteen cost center. Here we use the materials in the canteen. What are the materials we use in the canteen? Rice, vegetables, oils, groceries, etc., etc., right? So that is the direct cost to the canteen cost center. And just a minute. Then we have paid rent to the premises of canteen cost center. So that is the direct expenditure for the canteen cost center, right? Then we have paid wages to the chefs, cleaners, servers, stewards, etc., in the canteen cost center, right? So that is the direct expenditure for the canteen cost center. So these are all the direct expenditures which have been posted to these three cost centers during the month of December. Okay, now what is the purpose of this canteen cost center? We have the production cost center, Department A, and another production cost center, Department B. So these two departments, production cost centers, are working on two shifts. So to provide lunch and dinner facilities to the people working in the Department A and Department B, right? We are organizing this canteen cost center. Okay, suppose if you don't have this Department A and Department B, is it necessary to have the canteen cost center? If you don't have this Department A production cost center and Department B production cost center, is it necessary to have the canteen cost center?
No.
No, right? That's why it is a cost accounting principle that always the cost of the service cost centers are always to be ultimately borne by the production cost centers. Remember, in the cost accounting, always the cost of the service cost centers should be ultimately borne by production cost centers. So in this case, right, the total cost of the canteen cost center is 60,000. So the management wants to distribute the total canteen cost 50% to Department A, 50% to Department B. Okay. So in that case, Department A is posted with 30,000. Similarly, Department B is also posted with 30,000, right? Then the cost of Department C becomes 0 on 31st December. So from 1st April onwards, right, these three cost centers will be posted with the fresh expenditure. Okay, now if you see the cost composition of Department A, this 20,000 is salaries, right? So we have the salaries GL account. It is a primary cost element, right? Then 10,000 is the wages. So we have the wages GL account, right? That is the primary cost element. Then 15,000 is the rent. So it is also a primary cost element because salaries, wages, and rent are your GL accounts and they are directly posted to this cost center. Now, this Department A is posted with 30,000. Then this 30,000 is to be represented in the Department A under what head? Canteen expenses. Similarly, in the department B, this 30,000 is to be represented under the name canteen expenses. But do you have any GL account with the name canteen expenses?
No, sir.
Let us go to our chart of accounts. See, you don't have any GL account with the name canteen expenses. See the series 4. These are all expenses, right? We don't have any GL account with the name canteen expenses. But still, the cost is to be represented in the receiving cost centers. These are called receiving cost centers in this case. Department A and Department B are called receiving cost centers. So in the receiving cost centers, right, the cost of 30,000 is to be reflected under the name canteen expenses, but we don't have the GL account with the name canteen expenses. When you don't have the GL account with the name canteen expenses, can you post directly to the canteen expenses? Yeah. So it is a secondary cost element. So what is the secondary cost element? All the cost elements which do not have the corresponding GL accounts and to which cost elements we cannot post directly are called secondary cost elements. The secondary cost elements are created in controlling only. The secondary cost elements are used to identify the activities in controlling, such as assessment of overheads. So here we are finding out the overheads. So in this case, we create the secondary cost element. Why they are called overheads here? I will tell you. Then secondary cost elements arise due to the consumption of production factors which are sourced internally. Canteen service is also necessary for the production, right? They are called production factors. So these production services we are procuring from within the company, right? That's why this is called secondary cost element. I hope it's clear for everybody. Now clear what is secondary cost element? Now, what are the features? Okay, why these are called overheads, right? See here, salaries, wages, and rent. These are the direct costs posted to Department A. But this canteen cost is posted from another cost center. So it is not directly posted to Department A. It is indirectly posted to Department A through canteen cost center, right? That's why these indirect cost means overheads. So we are calculating overheads. That's why this is called assessment of overheads, right? Then what are the features of these overheads? This is very, very important. You have to understand what are the features of these overhead assessments, not overheads. We have to understand the features of overhead assessments. The sender is always a cost center. That means we can use this assessment of overheads only in the cost center account because the sender is always a cost center. Then the receiver can be any controlling object. So receiver can be any controlling object means we can transfer the cost either to a cost center or to an internal order, to a profitability segment or to the cost object. So the receiver can be any controlling object. Then it is mandatory to create secondary cost element. So without a secondary cost element, right, we cannot perform assessment of overheads. Then we can apportion both the primary cost elements and secondary cost elements. Now, we cannot identify the cost elements of the sender cost center in the receiving controlling objects. See, we cannot identify the cost elements of the sender cost center in the receiving controlling objects. Means see, look at the scheme carefully. Canteen expenses 30,000, right? In the Department A cost center, canteen expenses 30,000, right? So this canteen expenses includes canteen rent and canteen wages. Yes or no? We posted rent and wages to the canteen cost center, right? So when you apportion the cost of this canteen cost center to the Department A, this amount 30,000 includes canteen rent and canteen wages. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Right? Now,
Yes,
you tell
sir.
me in this 30,000, how much is the canteen rent? How much is the canteen wages? Can you tell me?
No, we cannot.
We cannot tell, right? That is the meaning of that sentence. We cannot identify the cost elements of the sender cost center in the receiving controlling objects, because here the system will add all the cost elements posted to the sender cost center, and that total is apportioned to the receiver under the name of secondary cost element. That's why in the receiving cost centers, right, we cannot identify what is the, how much is the canteen rent and how much is the canteen wages. This is one flaw, or this is one problem in this assessment of overheads. In order to remove this problem, right, SAP has introduced another activity, distribution of overheads. But distribution of overheads also has its own disadvantages. What is the distribution of overheads? I will explain you later after this topic. But you have to remember that in the case of assessment of overheads, it is not possible to identify the cost elements of the sender cost center in the receiving controlling objects. Then the system posts the debit line items and credit line items in the receivers and senders respectively. This I will show you after the execution of this assessment of overheads. Okay. Then first we have to create secondary cost element. So before starting the practice in CO, you have to set your controlling area. OKKS. Controlling area SSKB. Now KA06. Cost element is equal to 11 lakhs. Cost element is equal to 11 lakhs. You can give any number, but that number should be some distinctive number, right? Within brackets. Cost element is equal to 11 lakhs. Within brackets. Use some distinctive number. Use some distinctive number. Why? Here you have the primary cost elements and secondary cost elements, right? So primary cost elements are your GL accounts, right? So GL account number contains, GL accounts means expenses GL accounts only, please. Your primary cost elements are expenses GL accounts and revenue GL accounts, right? And our GL account number contains 6 digits. So primary cost element also contains 6 digits. Now for the secondary cost elements, I am using 11 lakhs means 7 digits I am using. So if the user notices 7 digits in the secondary cost element, sorry, if the user notices the 7 digits in the cost element number, he can understand that it's a secondary cost element. If there are 6 digits in the cost element number, it's a primary cost element. That's why normally we use some distinctive number. Then valid from 1/4/2022 to 31st December 9,999. Just a minute. Yes. Valid from 1/4/2022 to 31st December 9,999. Click on enter. Name is equal to canteen expenses. Name is equal to canteen expenses. Description is also canteen expenses. Cost element category 42. Assessment cost element. 42 assessment cost element. See, if you go back to the secondary cost element categories, 42 is there. Assessment cost elements. This category is used to apportion the cost of the service cost center to other cost centers. So here what we are doing, we are apportioning the cost of the canteen cost center to the other cost centers. So compulsory, in the case of assessments, compulsory we should use the category number 42. You cannot use any other category, it is mandatory. If you use any other category, system will not perform the assessment. It will give the error message at the time of executing the assessment of overheads. So in the case of assessments, the secondary cost element category should be 42. Click on Save. Now, creation of assessment cycle. So what is cycle? Cycle is a program which is executed at the end of every month in the case of assessments, distributions, and periodic reposting of overheads. Means in the case of assessment of overheads, we create assessment cycle. In the case of distribution of overheads, we create a distribution cycle. In the case of periodic reposting of overheads, we create a periodic reposting cycle. So cycle is a program, right? And in that cycle, we define some values. See, in each cycle, we define the segments. Segment is nothing but part. So in each segment, we define the sender cost elements. Which cost elements are to be apportioned to the receiving cost centers. Then sender cost center. What is the sender cost center? The cost of which cost center is to be apportioned to other cost centers. That is called sender cost center. And receiving cost centers and receiver staging factors. See, this is nothing but assessment of overheads means, simply saying in the normal layman language, we transfer the cost of the service cost center to the production cost centers or other cost centers. Suppose if you're doing it manually, as a human being, you know what is the sender cost center, to which cost centers we have to transfer, in which proportion we have to transfer, right? Which cost elements are to be transferred, to which cost centers the cost is to be transferred. All these things you know as a human being, right? But here, system itself will perform it. So we have to provide all this information to the system, like what is the sender cost center, what are the receiving cost centers, on which basis the cost is to be apportioned, which cost of the sender cost centers are to be taken for the purpose of apportionment. All this information is provided in the segment, nothing else. So a cycle can contain any number of segments. The more the number of segments a cycle contains, the more is the processing time. So while doing the step, I will explain you what are the parameters you assign. Transaction code KSU1. Cycle is equal to SSKV1, just like that. Give some number or name. Cycle is equal to SSKV1. Start date is equal to 1/4/2022. Start date is equal to 1/4/2022. Click on enter. Text is equal to assessment cycle number 1. Text is equal to assessment cycle number 1. Select iterative checkbox. So what is the impact of selecting this iterative checkbox? I will explain you after distribution of overheads and periodic reposting of overheads, right? After all these 3 activities, I will explain you what is the impact of selecting iterative checkbox. Then select iterative checkbox. Click on attach a segment. Segment name is equal to canteen. So in this segment, we are apportioning the cost of the canteen cost center to the other cost centers. In the controlling area, SSKV. In the cycle SSKV1, we are defining canteen segment. Description is equal to canteen, or description is equal to canteen expenses. Segment is equal to canteen. Name or description is canteen expenses. Assessment cost element, 11 lakhs. This is what you are defined, right? Then sender values, select post amounts. Under the sender values, sender rule is equal to post amounts. Means for the purpose of apportionment, the system will take all the cost elements posted to the sender cost center. Okay. Then share in percentage 100%. Share in percentage is equal to 100%. See, normally these percentages are always 100 normally, but sometimes this percentage can be less than 100. Say, for example, we have one power generation cost center, right? So we are generating the power internally. Okay, it's a service cost center, but 50% the power we are generating, 50% the power which we are generating is sold to outsiders, and within the company we are using only 50% the power generated. In that case, we have to apportion only 50% of the cost of the power generation cost center. Getting my point? In that case, we enter 50 here. Then the system will take 50% the costs posted to the power generation cost center. But normally it is always 100. Then select actual value origin. Select actual value origin means the system will take actual values posted to the cost center. Then under the receiver staging factor, receiver rule is equal to fixed percentages. So here I want to transfer the cost of the canteen cost center to the other cost centers in terms of percentages. But what is variable proportions? That is nothing but ratios that we see later on. Receiver rule is equal to fixed percentages. Click on senders receivers tab. Sender cost center from SS0 to 001. Canteen cost center. Sender cost center is equal to SS0 to 001. Suppose you can specify the cost elements also. Then the system will take only those cost elements from the sender cost center for the purpose of apportionment. Then receiver cost center group is equal to SSKV underscore PROD. Receiver cost center group is equal to SSKV underscore PROD. Otherwise, we can specify the cost center value range. Otherwise, we can specify the group also. For example, for SSKV underscore PROD cost center group, we have assigned 2 production cost centers, right? So the system will transfer that cost to the 2 production cost centers. But in what percentage? We have not yet entered the percentages, right? So click on receiver staging factor. Cost center. Within brackets, SS01001 cost center, within brackets SS01001 50%. Just like that, I'm taking 50%, 50%. But these percentages are given by the costing department. Cost center is equal to, within brackets, SS01001 percentage 50%. Again, cost center within brackets SS01002 50%. Click on save. Now, at the end of every month, right, the user executes the cycle SSK. Then the system will apportion the total cost of this SS0 to 001 to the production cost centers in the percentage of 50%, 50%, right? Under the name of secondary cost element 11 lakhs. Now, execution of assessment cycle. Before executing assessment cycle, let us display the cost center reports. Cost center is equal to SS01001 to SS0 to 001. All the 3 cost centers, right? Posting date 1/12/2022 to 31st December 2022. See, the total cost of canteen cost center, Department C, is 68,000. Now, if you execute the assessment cycle, 50% of 68,000, 34,000 will be posted to Department A under the name canteen expenses. Remaining 34,000 will be posted to Department B under the name canteen expenses. Now, the cost of Department C becomes 0. So let us execute assessment cycle now. KSU 5. Period is equal to 9 to 9. Period is equal to 9 to 9. Fiscal year 2022. Select to test run. Select to test run. Select to detail lists. Select to detail lists. Just a minute. Yeah. Select tester. Select detail lists. Cycle is equal to SSKV1. Cycle is equal to SSKV1. So we are executing the assessment cycle in the test run basis, right? So in the test run, the system always will display the values. It will not post, right? See, senders 1, number of receivers 2. Senders 1 means one cost center, number of receivers 2 cost centers. Then click on receiver tab. See here, receivers means the cost centers to which the cost was apportioned. SS01001, 34,000 under the name of the cost element 11 lakhs. Percent 50. Cost center SS01002, 34,000, right? Under the cost element name 11 lakhs. Now click on back. This is the test run, right? So click on back arrow twice. In the test run, values are not posted. Click yes on the message. Deselect test run. Click on execute. Now the value should have been posted. To see the values in the target cost center after executing assessment cycle, transaction code KSB1. Cost center is equal to SS01 to SS02001. Posting date is equal to 1/12/2022 to 31st December 2022. Click on execute. See, Department A, canteen expenses, 34,000. Then Department B, canteen expenses, 34,000. Now Department C, canteen expenses minus 34,000, canteen expenses minus 34,000. So Department C cost is 0 now. So I told you, the system will post debit items and credit items in the receivers and senders respectively. So in the sender cost center, right, system has posted 2 credit line items. For each receiver, the system will post 1 credit line item. Okay. In the receivers, debit line item. Now look at the scheme. Salaries is 4,100,000. It's a primary cost element, right? Wages 4,200,000. It is also a primary cost element. Rent 4,300,000. We have the GL account. It's a primary cost element. But canteen expenses, we don't have the GL account with the number 11 lakhs. So it's a secondary cost element. See, for every controlling object, the system maintains the information in the form of primary cost elements and secondary cost elements. Just a minute. Yeah, see here, the system maintains information for each controlling object through primary cost element and secondary cost element, right? So if you see the cost center department here, cost center is a controlling object, right? So these are all the primary cost elements and this is the secondary cost. This is called assessment. Now you should have understood what is secondary cost element, why we have to create secondary cost elements. Then we have some other categories also, right? And all those categories we are going to use throughout our CO controlling classes. Right? Now, distribution of overheads, right? This we will see in the next class, right? Actually, right, next class we have. So my own brother's daughter's marriage is scheduled on 17th, right? You know, nowadays marriages means they are organizing number of events, right? Like haldi, right? Some, I forgot the names also. So they are organizing many events. So those events are starting from tomorrow, right? So actually, even though the marriage is on 17th, right? They have started organizing many events like haldi and then sangeet, then what do you say, Mehandi, yes, right? So all these events they are organizing from tomorrow onwards. So being a own brother, I also have to be there, right? So marriage is on 17, reception is on 19th, right? So the reception is at Vizag. So we will be back on after 19th reception, right? We are starting there Vizag 20th afternoon. So we may reach 20th night Hyderabad, right? So again, we have the class on 21st only because this is inevitable, right? So Manju, tell me.
Sir, as you're not there, no. Actually, my SAP account will will expire on 17th only. So just
No problem. You can see, you can put the message, right? I
okay,
will
okay,
ask the service provider. Actually, it's not in my hands. Service
okay,
provider will activate your account, right? So if you
okay,
give the message, then I give them WhatsApp message to service provider. He will activate.
okay, okay, sir.
Activation is not in my hands.
Okay, so that weekend I can practice if it is
Yeah,
not
no
there.
problem, no problem.
Thank you, sir.
And of
Sir,
course,
it's
even
been
if you have the errors, no, if you even if you have the errors, right, WhatsApp me, right? If it is
Yeah, sure.
possible without logging into system, I can help you. Okay.
Sure. Thank
But
you,
if I
sir.
have to log into the system, it may take some time because I'm taking my laptop along with me also.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
Sir, this is Joshna, sir. I have
Yeah, tell me.
WhatsApp you some two questions, sir. Yesterday.
Just a minute.
What happened means the cost element, while creating the cost element groups, I have assigned by mistakenly, I have assigned one cost element to another cost elements also, sir. It has
What's your
accepted, sir.
controlling area?
Controlling area SUP1, sir.
Just a minute.
SUP1.
What happened? It's not typing. Cost element group is what? SCP1.
Yes, sir. Underscore admin.
Okay.
Yes. Sir, I have assigned 4,000 to 400 here, sir. I have created another one. By mistakenly, I have assigned 4 lakhs to 4
Understood,
lakhs.
understood. Yeah,
Yes.
you actually have to assign 4,300,000 to 4,399,000,
Yeah,
right?
yes, sir.
But by mistake, you have assigned 4 lakhs to 4,04,000,
Yeah,
right?
yes, sir. How I have tried many times, but I didn't delete. I cannot delete them, sir.
Mhm. I will check and let you know, right? As of now, I'm also not able to find the solution. I'm not getting into my mind.
Yeah,
Right?
yes, sir.
I will check and let you know.
Sir, if it is as it is, there will be any effect, sir.
Yeah, definitely. Right. And still you can create another group with the same cost elements. Right?
Sir.
There is no issue. But if you keep these cost elements in the administration cost group, right?
Sir.
At the time of reporting, they will give you the wrong reports.
Okay.
Because salaries and wages is not part of your administration, right?
Yeah, sir.
So in that case, the reports may be wrong, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Just a minute, let me check. There is a way to remove it, but I'm not getting it as of now.
Okay.
Let me check and come back to you. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Any questions from anybody?
Sir, even when I'm trying to log in, it says user account not in validity
Yeah,
date.
I will ask. I will do it within 5 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, then we have the class on again at 21st.